Hello, and welcome to the Collapse Experiment. Oh, it has been a day. It is Wednesday, and I can say for certain I got my workout in today. Granted, things are not done yet. I was able to clear off the trunk of this tree to get started for cutting the logs, which I'll be hauling out of here so that they can dry out and weather well. But as for this pile of brush, that's gonna go away as well. Although I'm going to keep it out here for a little bit just because we have a lot of rabbits that live on our property, and it's good habitat for them. A lot of issues with coyotes lately. Actually had one right across the street from the house a few days ago. Wife happened to see it like 5 minutes before I came home. Came out, ran along the road, and disappeared back across the street. So this is the other issue that we're having. This log here snapped off, and I had to actually pull it down with my bare hands because it was snagged right up here. A lot of twisting and pulling, but that's going to get cut up as well. Probably going to be taking care of that tomorrow morning. Weather's supposed to be crappy the next couple days, so did what I could. I was out here for not that long. I think I was out here for like an hour and a half. What I was able to do with the chainsaw was not a whole heck of a lot, but with the axe I cleared off all the branches and moved everything aside. So yeah, tomorrow is going to be a loud and probably a long morning taking care of that. So updates. Well, I'm currently in line, I guess. I don't know what the correct term is, but I do have some interest from two different podcasts to be on their shows. Different topics though. One is the Duncan Lump book, which is not out yet, October 31st. Still doing some final edits. Hopefully gonna have that taken care of soon so I can get the final version uploaded, and quite frankly just kind of like forget about it at that point. Let it go up onto the internet, do its thing. Really work on promoting it after that point. But to my surprise, another podcast reached out to me and said that they want to talk about my Michael Hastings book. So pretty excited about that one. I'm surprised. Maybe I shouldn't be. I'm surprised at how little interest there is with that. Perhaps it is because people can watch YouTube videos on the topic. Maybe going onto Amazon and searching for a book about him isn't something that usually comes to mind. Oh, because there wasn't one before I wrote it. Weird. So anyways, looks like I will be doing an interview for that as well. I've already recorded one interview for that book with Those Conspiracy Guys podcast. But I have on and off conversations with the creator of that show. Um, and he has a huge backlog of episodes. And he's the type of guy who he doesn't post daily or weekly. It seems to be every 2 weeks, maybe once a month, he posts a new episode. He does really long format interviews. He covers different topics, conspiracies, true crime. Yeah, sometimes various news stories, but his content is, I forget what the term was, I just heard it the other day. It's basically like 5 years from now, people will still be doing a search online for whatever topic it is that he covers, and it's content that will continue to get clicks and views and listens long after he's posted it. So I understand it. Definitely not upset. I'm really glad to have talked to him, and actually I'm supposed to be talking to him. Oh, here goes a nice big, oh man, was that a buck? It was big, whatever it was. Well, I know it was a deer. I don't know if it was a doe or a buck. So, anyways, I'm so I'm supposed to be on 3 podcasts now that I think about it. It's just scheduling at this point for a lot of these shows. And I'm supposed to talk to him about the Duncan Lump story. So that will be very interesting. Having a couple of interviews lined up for that book. And today, research. So, did 2 hours of research on the Yiki story, listened to an interview with his, I can't say widow because they weren't married. She was Yiki's ex-wife. They were on again, off again. They had 2 kids together. But she was on a radio show back in 1998 talking about some of the things that she had gone through, things that she knew. Learned a lot. Definitely learned a heck of a lot of information regarding that topic. Actually, I think I see another deer trail here. So it was great listening to that. And I did reach out. I don't know if the email address was correct or not. It seemed to be an older website, but considering who the email was to, a lot of people at that age, it's an older gentleman, they don't tend to change their email that often. You can always tell that somebody is set in their ways when you see something like hotmail.com or AOL.com. Like, they still use that email for all of their interactions. Anyways, I reached out to this individual, ordered their book, which also covers the topic, and who knows, maybe the book will be good enough for what I'm looking for. But it's tough. I think I've said this before, that considering this happened back in 95, videotape, actual newspapers. Now, a lot of this stuff was switched over to digital format. So that's the upside. We have digital. People are putting stuff out there. That interview that I was just talking about, that was posted only 9 months ago. So people are looking this stuff up. People are still posting it. And it's not a story that has really died off at all. So, anyways, I wonder if I'm going to run into that buck again. I want to say that was a buck. That was a big deer. Go figure. It's bow season. All of my freezers are full. So, as I said to one person recently, don't see the point in shooting a deer if I don't have anywhere to put it. I believe that's a turkey feather. A lot of turkeys out here too. So, anyways, still learning quite a bit. Always coming across new information. It's usually when the information starts drying up that I finally start organizing things, figuring out how I want to write the story, organize the book. But at this point, it's still a lot of figuring out what's true, what's not. I hate to use the term misinformation, but there are times when I come across something and it's repeated in several different places, and then I come across the original source, and that's not at all what happened. So that's always interesting, but that's what I like about doing these projects is getting rid of the mistruths of the story, figuring out what really happened, debunking the myths, and that was like half the fun when it came to the Michael Hastings book, was knowing that or learning where a lot of these weird details, these conspiracy theories, the real conspiracy theory, that's the thing. Conspiracy theory on its own has the connotation that whatever it is that these people are saying is wrong or false. Now, having said that, I'm trying to find the marker for my property to know where exactly the line is. It's somewhere out here. So, in my mind, this is kind of how I view things. Like, I'm looking for the truth, and so that, by certain people's definition, means that I'm the conspiracy theorist. I'm not interested in somebody's assumptions or theories. Now, granted, you have to have a theory to work with, but for me, gathering the information, piecing the story together, figuring out what's true and what's not. One of the issues I had with the Hastings story was the fact that there was a reporter who, while she was keeping the story alive so that people didn't forget what happened to Hastings, she just kept coming up with these stories or assumptions. I think some were assumptions, and I think others were just weird random shit that she just kept saying. So one of them was how the family had didn't want the body cremated, but the state came in and did it anyways. That turned out not to be true. The family did request that he be cremated. The other story was she was talking about the possibility of drones and rockets. That the car could have been hit by a rocket while he was driving. I guess that's one way to make sure that somebody is dead or stays dead. The explosives in the car, that was another story. And granted, most of these came from just one reporter who, unfortunately, I think she just did a really horrible job. Like, she would go on TV and her last theory would be debunked on television. And then she would follow up with, oh, well, now they're saying blah, 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 blah. And she just spit out this whole other narrative. And then, a week or two later, that one is proven false as well. Oh, I hear the deer out there. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. And that was something that I dealt with on that story. In this case, it's almost 30 years after the fact. Granted, there's a lot of documentation. Hopefully, getting my hands on this book and maybe finding a few others that cover it will shed light on a few other things, and maybe I can get started on some stuff. But so I'm hoping maybe to hear back from this guy. I might have an in with one of the podcasts that I'm going to be interviewed on, seeing that he's also trying to get in touch with the same guy. And who knows? It could be something where maybe this gentleman just wants to kind of move on. I mean, this was something that happened almost 30 years ago. He did a lot of investigating on it. Maybe his book, The Medusa Files 2, was kind of like his last say on things. Much like how once the Duncan Lump book is published, that will probably be my last endeavor on the topic. But who knows? I have a feeling, like anything else with cases like this, when you write a book, primarily you pick the juicy details that will attract the reader. You leave out other things that might be significant but don't justify taking up space on the page. But from what I can tell, what he wrote about the Yiki case is maybe a chapter or two in his book. And I'm looking to write a book. Not looking to just add it as another detail, another side story to Oklahoma City. I want the story to actually be Yiki. So that's my goal. And granted, maybe it won't be a very long book or very involved book. Although I can tell you, there's a lot of information. And it's the more I look into it, the more I keep learning. And that hasn't slowed down at all. I'm not even halfway through the documentaries that I found on YouTube and other outlets. Granted, there's a lot of this stuff that, has, my guess, been taken down from different platforms. So I go on to places like Odyssey and Rumble, and I'm finding totally different documentaries covering the same topic. So that's actually the great thing about our time right now is that the availability for information is not lacking. Unfortunately, the time in which this event took place means that there's a limit to what's been uploaded. I mean, there's probably boxes of files stuffed somewhere that I don't have access to that I wouldn't even know exist. I know that there's groups out there that investigated not just Yiki but Oklahoma City. I don't even know if they exist anymore. I don't know if they had a website. I don't know if any of the people who collected that information are still around. Things happen, not just of the shady sort. Just time goes on, people gradually disappear one way or another, and maybe, perhaps, I can look up some of these people and see if they want to have a chat. But I don't know. It's definitely, this is going to be a wild ride. I thought that the Duncan Lump story was kind of wild, kind of crazy. Some of the people that I chatted with, the information that I got, the things that I learned along the way, the weird drone that was flying over my house, that happened. That was when I first started looking into it. Granted, I live in the middle of nowhere, and yes, it did fly from one direction over my house into another direction. But there's not too many places around here that somebody would want to fly a drone over at 11:30 at night when I'm letting the dog out. It was weird. I'll just leave it at that. But anyways, so that's what's going on. I've definitely had I had a pretty good day. I feel like I've had a pretty good day. Got some things done, learned a bit more, woke up to an email saying, "Hey, we'd like to have you on our show." That's always a good feeling. It's nice to be wanted. So things are looking up. And you know, when I was doing interviews on different podcasts and shows beforehand a couple years ago, that was when things really kicked off with Amazon and getting different jobs, and like that TV gig that I had a couple years ago. Granted, nothing happened with it, but I mean, it was extra money. It was a side job. I did learn quite a bit, and who knows? Maybe doors are opening up. So I just have to keep trudging. Trudging, was that the word that was used in my last video? Keep trudging along. So anyways, that's about it for me today. Remember, you are the carbon they want to reduce.